Well, Chris Popper here, joined by Dr. Marc Gousse, the Superintendent of AOS 91. And I was just getting ready to publish your recorded congratulations, stay safe. We're doing a great job. Looking forward to a 2021 video when I got word that AOS schools were going to go fully remote. Well, the high school starting today, and then the elementary, middle schools starting on Wednesday. And first of all, for all parents, we do have pickup times for the technology learning bags and meals on our website, WDEA.am, for all the mainland elementary, middle schools, and I think everybody had their own computers for the high school because they started today. What went into the decision? Because I know that has rocked, the island. And I know, first of all, we say this wasn't done lightly. It wasn't done spur of the moment, and it's all done to keep people safe. But if you would, it's kind of like, we did the video a couple years ago about what goes into the decision to have a snow day. This is like a snow day on steroids. Really.
Well, first of all, Chris, Happy New Year.
Thank you.
And you can still post the New Year's message. It's still relevant. I'm still very, very proud of folks. But to your question, yes, nobody likes surprises, and nobody likes to hear information that changes their world. And from day one, this situation. First off, let me go back and say I'm incredibly proud of our students, our staff, our communities. People are working hard to do the right thing. And what we really need to do is avoid stigmatizing any individual, any group. When people receive news, quite frankly, most of the individuals that I've come in contact with, they're shocked when they receive this, because many, many people are doing the right things. So nobody should feel bad about. This virus knows no socioeconomic strata, and so just to put it out there, nobody should feel shamed, stigmatized, or be ostracized. I think that's really, really important to.
Let me add in there for a second. When I see businesses posting that they're closing because of COVID,
mm-hmm.
I think that those businesses ought to be applauded.
Absolutely.
Because they are doing what's right.
Sure.
Sometimes, as you said, that there are employees that, just all of a sudden, despite the best precautions, are first-party contacts.
Right.
And until everyone can get tested, by shutting down, they are protecting the community.
Right. Again, I've said many, many times, assume good intent. Unless somebody's going out of their way to do something wrong or harmful, assume good intent. And that's what the situation here that we have at hand. So what goes into a decision like this? Honestly, as of, I'll back up. Last Wednesday, I meet weekly with the Hancock County Superintendents. We meet regularly. I also meet weekly with the Down East COVID-19 Task Force. I also meet weekly with all of our school nurses, and more than weekly with our administrative team. So those pieces have been in place. They are in place. They have been in place, and we're constantly reviewing data all the time. As of last Wednesday with the Hancock County Superintendents, we check in, and I'd like to note, even as of today, our county is still green. So folks might say, well, if you're still green, what are you thinking? What are you doing? And it is, first and foremost, Chris, and I say this carefully, but it is the superintendent's decision. Now, that's true when we open and close a school with inclement weather or contingencies. It has been true here with COVID, and I don't take that lightly. I don't take that as in any instance, every time I've made a decision, whether it was back in March 13th, about shutting down, or in most recent case with this shift to remote learning, I've done so with the approval and the blessing of my school board chairs throughout the AOS.
So you're not, I mean, so everybody knows you're not operating in a vacuum.
No, absolutely not. I don't believe I am, but I felt, some folks might feel that way, but no, and I'm not. And when I'm making these decisions, it's really based upon recommendations and guidance from medical professionals, nurses, administrators, and I'm absolutely conscious of the implications for working families, for parents, the impact, the cascade effect. I understand that completely. I acknowledge it. So I know the impact. So what goes into a decision like that? A lot of factors, but over the weekend, I was contacted by the hospital. So what prompted this decision was really a conversation by outreach from medical professionals saying, Mark, we're starting to see increased activity. We really think you need to take a look at this. You need to be prepared. That got my attention. That was Saturday. And very quickly convened a conference with my colleague administrators. And it speaks to who these people are. These people have been working behind the scenes on weekends and nights since March. They worked through the summer. But this past weekend, our administrative team, they were meeting on Saturday and Sunday. And that was not required. They're just rolling their sleeves up because that's the type of people that we have serving our communities. And that's true of our staff too. They're incredible. So I was in contact with them. And I want to be careful here, Chris, because folks may want to go, well, Mark, what was the number? What were the names? Who were they? I don't have that information. We were not in session. This was medical professionals reaching out to me saying, Mark, we're starting to see increased positivity in our area. And that is concerning. And that is why MDI hospitals stood up their testing facility on Sunday. Yeah. I don't have the results of those most recent tests. The hospital will report those, CDC, but suffice to say that whether it be, and I think it's important that, that there's probably a lot of rumor and innuendo out there. I don't subscribe to that type of information. I really try to be very careful about getting my information from reliable sources, government sources, hospital. But be that as it may, I think our fears are starting to become realized, and that is whether it be holiday travel, whether it be family gatherings, whether it be community events or what have you. Again, I think people are trying to do the right thing, but when we're with family, or when we're in a group of people that we know, whether they be neighbors, just an observation, there may be a tendency to let our guard down. I say maybe. That could be an issue. This virus, we know so much more now. It's deadly. But the deadly piece about it is it's airborne. And so people are going to contract it when we do let our guard down, if we're not wearing a mask, if we're closer than 6 feet, if we're avoiding those protocols that we practice at work, that we practice at the market, that we practice at school, that doesn't help us. It in fact impedes us. So that's a long-winded answer to say, Chris, many of those factors, because I want to emphasize our schools are safe. We found that our schools have been able to stay open to date because of the things that we are doing, not the things that we're not doing. The things that we are doing. And that's why we've had relatively few positive cases in the schools. But if we want to keep our schools open, this needs to be, I think, a wake-up call to all of us in our communities, in our personal lives, that we have to be willing to recommit to do the things that are going to keep our schools open.
Let me ask or be the devil's advocate here.
Sure.
If the schools are the safest place for the kids, why are we shutting the schools and having the kids at home?
Right, because we do not want to have evidence of community spread or an outbreak in our schools. And frankly, Chris, I think that had we opened unabated, given the data that I was receiving from medical professionals, that was a virtual certainty.
Okay.
So this was done as a preemptive strike to ensure that we were going to be able to continue to deliver education. And very honestly, we're going to continue to monitor the data every single day. We'll reopen for in-person hybrid instruction as soon as possible, and we've continued our Sentinel testing program. So we're going to know if there's evidence of community spread, but we do know through the hospital that there are significant increased cases on our island.
I know that mental health is a serious concern for the administration, for the teachers, for parents, for kids. Not having the kids involved in extracurricular activities, tragically, we know of a child down in southern Maine that committed suicide. I mean, we are all terribly concerned about the mental health of our population.
I absolutely, and that
wasn't a question. I guess it was a statement.
No, but
But go ahead, because I need you to address that.
Yeah. So people may or may not know, it may not be relevant, but athletics and activities were a big part of my life for the longest part of my life, both as a student, then throughout life. My former positions, I've been a coach, I've been an advisor, I've been an athletic administrator. So those things are very important. And when I say athletics and activities, the whole piece, whether it be music, drama, art, all of those things are so important to our kids. Chris, just based upon what I'm hearing from medical professionals locally, and I would encourage you to reach out to people like Julian Kufler and Dr. Crevens in the hospital. There's just a lot of concern on the physiological effects of when we increase activity and how that can exacerbate the spread of this virus. So, although that being said, we have continued to follow the CDC and MDOE and MPA guidelines, and we were on track to do so. So when I say suspended, these activities have been suspended, we hope that's temporary.
Right.
As soon as we can get back and we know that it's safe to do so, we will resume. So this isn't a fait accompli. It was done so because I believe there are some community organizations, several, whether or not they be basketball, gymnastics, swimming, hockey, have all undergone the same types of challenges. And that's what we're hoping to avoid. We want to get these activities back, but it's finding the balance of being able to provide activities, whether they be skill building to support the mental health, and not furthering the spread of COVID and having to shut down, having staff, kids, parents, groups become ill, and that's the balance we're trying to find, Chris.
Right, and I know that there's a fine line if the school doesn't have enough staff to do in-person education. I mean,
we've been in some cases, in some schools, our staff have done a remarkable job holding it together, because we have had challenges where we've had staff not because of positive cases, but because of being close contacts or having to self-quarantine, and that can shut a school down too. You've seen all around us that we've had schools throughout our county and state come in and out of remote learning for that very reason.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, all you need is one positive case, and then it can wipe out multiple teachers and students.
And Chris, I think it's important to point out, because people do say, well, they're doing it in the MBA, or they're doing what they're doing at that level, that professional level, and they're in colleges and universities. It's completely different than what we're doing in our communities and our schools. We don't have the ability to have a pod that is virtually unimpregnable.
Right. People would like to put up the drawbridge, but right.
Right.
Are you concerned, and I know you're not, but I'll ask the question anyway. Are you concerned that you're the only Hancock County superintendent that's gone this route as
No,
of right now?
absolutely not. I respect each and every one of my colleagues. I reached out to them. This is not a competition. And same with when you mentioned snow days, and I don't want to minimize this, but I've used that analogy that each and every day is kind of like, look, every single day, Chris, people's lives are literally in the palm of my hand, whether or not that's a decision to hold school, to delay school, to open school. And that is a heavy responsibility. But I work to be collegial and to network with my colleagues, but all of us, and I have great respect for every single one of them and throughout the state. And I talk to superintendents throughout the state. Each of us has to recognize that what happens in our communities is different for different reasons. And so, no, we work very, very hard to stay aligned, knowing full well that when it comes to these decisions, that we have to do what's best for our communities, but we'll continue to work together.
If people have concerns, they should be reaching out to the building principals, to the school nurses. Is that correct?
That's correct. If there's questions, particularly about testing, about close contacts, the nurses have been awesome. Reach out to the nurses, reach out to the principals. That's the best information. And if they can't give you the answer, we'll get the answer. I mean, we're networking. Again, the schools are working very, very closely with doctors and nurses and health officials throughout the region. I guess if I could, Chris, before we close out, can I just emphasize a couple things?
Please. Sure.
I really need your help, and we need the help of the community, because we know we want our kids back in school, and we want our activities, and we want all those things going. And I can't underscore enough, we need help. And this is how people can help. Everybody can do this. Everyone can help. And they can help by wearing a mask, practicing good hygiene, washing our hands frequently and regularly and vigorously, practicing physical distancing, and moreover, not just doing these things when we're at school or we're in the market or at the bank. We need to do them with our families, because and our friends. That's where I think some of our gaps may be coming. And I can't emphasize this enough. Our students, while we're out these next 2 weeks, they really need to avoid, and parents, please discourage kids getting together in groups. I know that's hard, but if they want to socialize, do it through social media. But this is where we really, if we want to get our schools back to in-person instruction, we need for people to stay away from gatherings and not exacerbate this trend, because the trend is ticking upward. Finally, travel. There's a lot of things that we need, and I think it's, I'm looking at our outer islands, and I've always wondered this, but those folks have to prepare for every contingency, right? They have to plan their travel. I think we need to be planning our travel and being strategic about where we go and avoid or limiting unnecessary travel. It should only be for something that we really have to do, like a medical appointment or legal or so on and so forth. And lastly, and this is the hardest thing, is stay home. Stay home. And look, wherever people are at, whether they're going to take a vaccine or not, it's coming. And that will be another tool. But we're going to be doing this for a while, Chris, with or without a vaccine. And we need to be prepared to roll up our sleeves, because if we really want those things, and I think we do, our activities, our athletics, our schools, then we're going to have to recommit and redouble our efforts to do the things that we know work. And those things work. And the schools need the help of our families. So it's a plea more than anything else to please help us.
I agree with you. I think the difference is that we're 10 months into this, and fatigue is great. And people really need to step back to what it was like in March, and trying to reverse the upward trend, and it does take all of us. I mean, this is one of those where it takes an island, it takes a village,
Yeah.
because it's like if you have one person that's not participating, then that's how that's how the virus comes through.
Right. Yeah. We all need to be rowing in the same direction, and we've shown that we can do that, and we can do that. And again, I guess I just want people to know that for me, 2021, turning the page, I think our better days are ahead for us. You mentioned that people are stressed. Yep. And it's hard, but all the more reason now, when we're at our toughest point, when we have to just really, really recommit to doing the right things, so that look, I've said it all along. This is a marathon. It's on a sprint. Here's the beautiful part, though. We've passed Heartbreak Hill, and the end is in sight, and we can get there, but we're only going to get there if we do the right things together.
All right. Dr. Gousse, thanks very much. Anytime you want to get together, please just let me know.
Chris, thanks so much for your support, and all the community out there. Hang in there, and if we can do anything to support kids or families, please let us know. All right. Happy New Year.